Now, JoyNews has discovered over 30 fully armed military personnel protecting miners pillaging the Manso forest in the Ashanti region. This is despite government's announced withdrawal of all military personnel from mining sites across the country. Erastus Asaridonko reports there was a standoff between the military personnel protecting the miners and the Environmental Sustainability Task Force of the Ministry of Environment, to the extent that the JoyNews team covering the operations of the task force was attacked and had its vehicle and camera damaged.
The team's journey to this part of Manso and its forest saw scenes of destruction. Abandoned pits and mining settlements dot the road leading into the remaining part of the forest. After dodging water-filled, dangerous open pits, we arrived at this mining settlement deep within the forest enclave. 7 Chinese nationals were quickly located and arrested. Leader of the team conducted a search room by room. There were indications of military presence.
From what we are seeing here, it looks like there are some military men involved in this whole activity in this forest. Because you are looking at their uniforms, even some have names on them, but we did not meet any of them. But looking at it, I think the military were the people protecting them here to do this illegal job.
Okay, so what are we doing with the uniforms?
First of all, we need to retrieve them and then ascertain as to who sanctioned their duties here.
So these are military accoutrements. You can find names on them. This one is Camel. This one is Camel. We have the other one, Amweni, on this one. And these are, as security men have been able to authenticate, these are quality Ghana Army uniforms, indicating that we may have some military involvement here in this site.
In the midst of our search, a young military officer drove into the compound in a Tundra vehicle.
Yes, sir. We see a lot of people.
He started making some calls to his superiors.
I will do the Staff Sergeant Ayante, sir. We are here at this thing, Tontokrom. The hot duties, and there are some policemen and media be here.
Within the next 30 minutes, the whole place was crawling with over 30 angry, armed military men. Anger turned into heated verbal exchanges and near fisticuffs. A group of physically built men with known faces from the Delta Force group also joined them. The Chinese were released. Our news team was prevented from filming anything from this time onwards as they overpowered the task force and took over.
Please stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing.
Things got physical as the macho men assaulted my driver, forcibly took the keys to our vehicle and struggled with a camera technician for the camera. Under the watch of the military men, they broke our windscreen and side mirrors. Owner of the site, Donald Ntua, ordered the military to delete all footages from our camera and our personal phones. But we managed to retrieve items from our formatted card. It took the intervention of the Ministry of Environment and the Military High Command to get us released. The Minister for Environment told our news team, quote, Heritage Imperial only has a prospecting license, and so it is mining illegally in the forest. He's supposed to be drilling testing samples to be presented in the process of getting a mining permit. But Donald told our news team he has all the documents giving him full access to mine in the forest. But in all this, the best judge is the environment, which lies unclaimed with huge gullies and pits. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Now, as you heard Erastus describe there, he and his team were attacked and were prevented from leaving the forest for hours. He joins us via Zoom with more on the incident. First of all, Erastus, very good to hear that you are finally doing well and you've recovered from all that happened. Sorry about that, but give us an update on this particular incident.
Well, so since we came, we've had calls from the military command for further investigations. Have been called by some personnel indicating that they need
Unfortunately, we lost Erastus Asaredonko there. We'll re-establish the connection with him and go back to Kumasi. But in the meantime, we understand the justices of the Supreme Court have re-entered the courtroom where they are scheduled to deliver a ruling on that application that was filed by the former president, John Dramani Mahame's team. Let's take you live to the Supreme Court now.
69C4 of the Supreme Court amendment. Parties. Subsequent statutory amendments pointed out after 2013 have provided us with new procedural regime and strict timelines. We are strictly bound to comply with CR 90 and therefore we will not apply Order 22 of CR 47 of 2004 in these circumstances. We accordingly refuse to grant the application and same is accordingly dismissed.
We are grateful to the court. We are most grateful.
Yes, please may I have your attention. Indeed, we set today, we adjourn the matter to today for case management so that we can have the consensus from both parties and proceed to hear the petition. So we hear from you the issues which you think should be set down for. Try. Yes. Mr. Chikata, we want to, we are seeking the assistance of both counsel to, all counsel in this case to give us some assistance in arriving at issues so that we can proceed to make consequential orders.
Well, my lords, before we get into that, I may say that we will urgently require a certified true copy of the ruling that you have just delivered so that we can advise ourselves in respect of that. And if we can have it by the end of the day, that would assist in the further processes that will take. Now, secondly, my lord, as I indicated right at the beginning, we have served a request to admit facts, which is a request we have served on the first respondent, and we have also served a request to inspect documents. Now, my lord, in respect of the request to admit facts, again, that is in the nature of a process of discovery, which also comes under CI 47, and we have the clear understanding that in respect of that also, There are a number of days within which we have indicated 3 days within our request to admit facts. Now, that is not an application before you at the moment. I recognize that. However, I'm drawing your attention, the attention of your lordships to it, because that will also affect whatever other steps are being taken in respect of this case. So I think we recognize that you have just given a ruling about the operation of CI 47 and how it's affected by the subsequent CI, which we will advise ourselves on once we have it. And I think that that will guide the process of our recommendations in respect of the case management. The final thing I will say is that I think, as is fairly normal, we are quite happy to set down the issues that are arising from the petition and the respective answers and put that forward so that it is considered by council. I do not think that is a process that is easily done just on one's feet in a courtroom to try to determine what are the issues. I think that a normal process is perhaps for us as petitioners to put forward issues, and we are happy to undertake that with as much expedition as is consistent with the interests of justice.
My lords, we would seek further direction from the court whether the court wants us to raise our issues now. We should file a process because we.
Sorry. A process in what form?
Well, that we
want you to file issues so that you're certain on it. Maybe by tomorrow.
Well, my lords.
Mr. Kutompa. Yeah. Mr. Chikata.
My lord.
Yeah, please, can you oblige us so that if...
My lord, I think tomorrow is a stretch because, one, I don't think we can respectfully do it by tomorrow because, first of all, respectfully, we are going to advise ourselves in respect of the ruling you've just made. We are going to take that into consideration because your ruling, as we heard it, seems to relate to the operation of CI 47. And so, since these processes of issues, they are not provided for in CI 127, in CI 99. They are not provided for in CI 99. There is no specific, so again, normally we would be guided by what happens in CI 47. But that's why we need to understand your lordship's ruling, and once we get it, I think we will know what steps to take. But I think tomorrow it will not be possible for us to submit.
Try to be a bit flexible, because if you look at the operative rules, there is no provision for amendment. But we thought it is inherent in the court of law, to be very flexible, to allow amendments. But whatever it is, if tomorrow is not convenient to you, because we thought having settled the pleadings, at least you can unearth the issues, yes, by tomorrow, so that we set the what do you call it, the case management in motion. Yes.
If Thursday is acceptable, by Thursday we should be able to put.
Yes, Mr. Kutampo, excuse me, please.
My lords, today was set up for case management. And all lawyers know that case management involves determining the issues for trial. And all of us should have been prepared for that. It is not acceptable that any counsel may suggest that when a date has been fixed for case management, especially in the circumstances of these proceedings where expedition is very paramount, to come to court and make an application that they should be given time to think about the issues. That is highly unacceptable.
Please, so, it was overtaken by events because there was an application which had to be determined. Yes. No. And
my lords,
we adjourned, the court adjourns a matter. We adjourned it to today for pre-trial.
Yes.
Case management.
Yes.
Then an application was filed.
Yes.
And we thought that it was prudent on the part of the court to take the application, and we've taken it. So if we adjourn it tomorrow, we hope that you can do us a favor and file the issues. Yes.
Very well.
Because we don't want to impose the issues on you, but ultimately it's the court which will have to consider the issues which parties have filed, so that we proceed on the common ground.
My lords, if we can take a cue from the precedent of the 2013 petition, this matter of issues to be tried was determined in open court. So it seems to me that if your lordships are directing that we come tomorrow for that, we should come and read out our issues and for the court to take up the issues.
Okay.
Because filing these matters may take some further time.
If you prepare it in the morning, you can have it at the registry. Sorry, file it at the registry. We are ready.
Very well.
We are ready. We are ready.
My lords, we are just concerned that this matter be dealt with very expeditiously.
We are ready. We are ready.
My lords, I believe that I've indicated that it would not sacrifice expedition if we had until Thursday, because we also need access to a ruling that you've just delivered. Yeah.
Let the issues for determination be filed by tomorrow before 9:30 a.m. The case is adjourned to 9:30 tomorrow a.m.
My lords, just for clarification, I believe that beyond the determination of the issues, all other issues of case management will be dealt with tomorrow. Yes, yes.
Rise.
You're live on JoyNews today with me, Daniel Daze. So the key word you need to remember today is dismissed. That's right. Now, earlier, the lawyers for John Dramani Mahama wanted the Electoral Commission chairperson to answer some 12 questions, including whether or not the National Communications Authority assisted in the transmission of results to the EC's headquarters. Now, the EC's lawyers, in their response, said that Mr. Chikata, who is lawyer for Mr. Mahama, was using the back door to introduce matters that were not stated in the petition. So they further argued that the other questions are not in contention and they have either been answered by the EC or it is information that John Mahama is well aware of because he deployed agents across the country. So, as you heard earlier in the discussion with Mama V, the Supreme Court went on a short break to rule on the matter. That matter has been ruled upon. The application by John Dramani Mahama through his lawyers has been dismissed. Now, following that, there was a bit of drama because we did see that, first of all, Mr. Chachu Chikata, who is lawyer for John Dramani Mahama, said that his side would request a certified true copy of the ruling that the Supreme Court justices just delivered, and they would advise themselves. He used that expression repeatedly, that they would advise themselves. Now, remember, today was actually set aside for case management or pre-trial, where lawyers on both sides will lay out certain issues, and then those issues will be decided on. That has not started yet. It should have started today, as was pointed out by Akoto Ampao, lawyer for President Akufo-Addo. But as the Supreme Court justices pointed out to him, because of this application for interrogatories, which was, filed by John Dramani Mahama, that case management could not begin today. Now, Chachu Chikata also went on to say that there was a request to admit facts and to a request to inspect documents, which are all part of the process of discovery, according to CI 47. He did admit, though, that this is not an application before the court. It's a request to the EC and President Akufo-Addo's lawyers. Then he went on to say that the court then said that, fine, if that is the case, we've given our ruling, tomorrow let's continue with the case management. Mr. Chikata responded by saying that tomorrow may not be possible because they have to advise themselves on that application. But we've been joined on the phone by Joseph Akable, our court correspondent, who has been viewing this from within the Supreme Court. So, Joseph, walk us through that, the dismissal of the application by the Supreme Court. Walk us through exactly what happened. Did the Supreme Court's justices, for instance, give any reasons for their decision? Right. Unfortunately, we seem to have lost Joseph Akable in there.
Well, the real work in court has started. All this propaganda of having won 2 goals to 0. This is the first application that has formally been moved before the court. The application for a televised broadcast had already become moot because the court had already set in place the procedures for a live telecast. The application for interrogatories was dismissed outright by a unanimous panel of 7. This tells you that the petitioner has a long way to go insofar as this petition is concerned. There are ground rules which have been set for this petition, and the Supreme Court is not going to allow for unnecessary and interminable delays in the hearing of this petition. We are gladdened by the fact that the opposition we mounted was exactly what was rendered by the Supreme Court in its ruling. We had lawyer for a petitioner talking about time to have certified true copy of the ruling. Whether that is his right, but that would not delay the trial. The courts have indicated quite clearly that tomorrow morning we are here for the pre-trial. So tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. we will be here. Indeed, just to let you know that we were ready and prepared with our issues, because the last time the court directed that there was going to be a pre-trial, every lawyer knows that when the case is adjourned for pre-trial or case management, you have to prepare your issues. And if you bring an application to court, you either know that the application will be granted or dismissed. So there is no need to wait for that to happen. Much more so when you filed your application just about 2:40 p.m. yesterday. What did you expect? So yes, the application has been dismissed. Whatever they do afterwards is their own business. But yes, the real case in court has now started.
Is your contention that they are delaying the process? We heard your colleague make that point that he wanted to be dealt with.
Well, what else could be further from the truth? We came to court when on the 14th. If indeed you wanted an application to be heard from the 14th that we came to court, we had an intervening period of a Friday. You wait until yesterday before you file the application for interrogatories. And even this morning, that was when they filed the request to produce documents. I mean, what at all can be the reason for that? You can answer. What at all can be the reason for that?
You suspect they are delaying?
I say, what at all can be the reason?
You tell me what you think, sir.
The court said that there should be expedition. The court said there should be expedition. So that answers your question. Okay? When the court has invited us to come for case trial and management, a pre-trial, it means that you have to have your issues before you come to court. Whether you have an application or not would depend on the ruling that the court gives. But that does not preclude you from coming to court with your issues. And that is exactly what they failed to do.
Very much. Thank you. And that was Mr. Frank Davis.
So you're live on Joy News today. You heard there Mr. Frank Davis, a member of the legal team for the EC and President Akufo-Addo. Speaking there to a group of journalists, Joseph Akable, our court correspondent, asking him directly whether or not he believed that the team of lawyers representing John Dramani Mahama was deliberately trying to delay the process. He says this is indeed his belief. He goes on to say that what really happened was that they made this application at 2:40 p.m. yesterday, which demonstrated that they really wanted to delay the process. Joseph Akable has joined us, and he's going to give us, shed some more light on that. Joe, so first of all, tell us, the Supreme Court has dismissed John Dramani Mahama's application. What does that mean?
So you are not the one with the lie. So what?
Right, Joseph Akable, our court correspondent, will be joining us very, very shortly so that he can answer some of our questions related to some of these cases. But the Supreme Court has given till tomorrow 9:30 a.m., as you heard Frank Davis say there, for this case to continue, specifically with case management and pre-trial. Joseph Akable has joined us. Joseph, so what is the meaning, really, of the Supreme Court's dismissal of John Mohammed's application? Right, Joseph, can you hear me? Do I have Joseph Akable?
Hello?
Hi, Joseph, are you there? Right, it seems like we are finding it difficult to hear Joseph Akable at this end of the conversation. He, of course, is a journalist who just finished questioning Frank Davis, who is lawyer, Frank Davis, a member of the legal team for the president. And he'll be joining us to give us some more clarity on some of these issues. We understand he's with us currently. Joseph Akable, are you there? Right, is Joseph there? Unfortunately, we seem to have lost Joseph Akable. We'll go back to him when we have him so we can get those issues. Currently speaking is Dominic Ayine. Dominic Ayine, former Deputy Attorney General.
Let's take an application for interrogatories based upon the existing rules. And if you listen carefully to what the learned, Chief Justice said, that given the new rules, that is CI 99, we could no longer bring an application for interrogatories in respect of election petitions. That really is surprising to a lot of us as lawyers, because basically what the court has done is to overrule its own decision in the 2013 election petition without according reasons as required by the Constitution and existing practice and precedent. We think that the court sidestepped the basic issues that were brought before it. We think that the issues were very relevant because they went, they go to the meat, the integrity of the pleadings that were filed, that is the petition as well as the respective answers. And in fact, if you were listening, counsel for the first respondent did admit that our interrogatories were relevant, because he said that those interrogatories raised issues that had been answered by their answer as well as the answer of the second respondent. And so for us, relevance was key to the application that we brought, and we're very shocked that the court did two things. First of all, by sidestepping its own decision in the 2013 election petition, one, by a 9-member panel. Okay, that decision was cited by learned counsel for the petitioner, Mr. Tachuchi Kata, to the court. And then secondly, by implying that there has been kind of an implicit amendment of CI 47 that we think is very I don't want to use strong language, but I think that it is legally unacceptable, legally untenable. So we have requested for the ruling of the court, and we have told the court that we will advise ourselves with respect to the ruling.
Your colleague, Mr. Chikata, was asking for more time in order to get the ruling before the case proceeds. Is it your contention that this ruling potentially has an impact on the matter and how it proceeds?
That is so, and as he said, he indicated to the court that we're going to advise ourselves. So we'll look at the ruling more carefully in light of existing precedent, and then the statutes that were cited by the court itself, and then we will come back to the court to find, to determine whether or not we will ask the court to take a second look at its own, decision.
Your colleagues demonstrate the crucial
issue of relevance in the first matter. You couldn't demonstrate the crucial issue of relevance.
No, we didn't need to even. I think that Mr. Chikata eloquently dealt with the issue of relevance, by, for instance, taking the court through, step by step, the relevance of each of the questions that we wanted the Electoral Commission, to answer. And then also, when Learned Counsel for the first respondent was on his feet, he himself pointed out quite clearly that the issues we raised were contained in their answer. And our application for interrogatories was basically to elicit answers that will lead to an expeditious determination of the matter, so that we don't have to take them to cross-examination and have a lengthy trial, as you saw in 2013. And that is why I wanted to narrow down the issues and make sure that, when we next time we are in court, we are dealing with very specific factual matters before the court.
We spoke to your colleagues on the other side. We spoke to your colleagues on the other side. They make the point that you don't need a ruling to proceed, and that they believe that you don't want an expeditious hearing.
No, we are committed to an expeditious trial. In fact, our application, on the contrary, was the one that was designed to lead to an expeditious trial. And we are very ready for this trial. They should not, they thought this was going to be a walk in the park. And what they saw today is just a tip of the iceberg. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And so we have been
live on JoyNews today. So Dominic Ayine, Dr. Dominic Ayine, who is a member of John Dramani Mahamat's legal team, former Deputy Attorney General at Ministry of Justice, saying there that they had no intention of delaying the trial. They say they want an expeditious trial, just as much as the lawyers on the President and Electoral Commission side do. He says that today was just a tip of the iceberg. And then he made the point that Chachu Chikata made earlier in court, that by the Electoral Commission's lawyer admitting that there were responses to some of these questions in their response that had been written out for the court, he was admitting then that the interrogatories were indeed relevant. Well, Joseph Akable has joined us. Joseph, if you can hear me, first of all, the basis for the Supreme Court's dismissal of John Mahamat's application.
So the court explains that the application was essentially premised on CI 47, which is the High Court rules that the Supreme Court adopted during the 2012 election petition. The court says since then there has been amendments, and currently CI 99 is in operation, and those amendments restrict a situation whereby the court has to exercise the discretion in order to conclude whether or not to admit such applications or not. And as far as the court is concerned, a case for relevance in this particular instance has not been made to enable it to grant this particular request. So it was on that basis that the court said that it's not granting the request for the interrogatories to be served on the Electoral Commission.
And as Dr. Dominic Ayine explained later, it was their expectation that these interrogatories will be accepted because there is no process really for interrogatories to be filed in CI 99. That's the case.
Yes, and he was saying that he finds it great in that the court appears to have done two things. One, it has shut the door on such applications, and number two, it has departed from its own decision in 2012-2013. And so he says that the rules and the Supreme Court, the Constitution for that matter, allows the Supreme Court to depart from its own decision, but it must state the reasons. And that is why Mr. Chikata was asking for more time, because he wanted access the decision of the court in order to inform our next line of action whether they will be validity of that decision or not. But the court always took the view that they should come back tomorrow and file the memorandum of issues to enable the trial to proceed. And so they say that they are looking for a suggestion at the decision of the court in order to decide what to do next.
Right. That gives an indication that they may want to contest the decision of the court in this application, does it not? Because Mr. Chikata said repeatedly that they would advise themselves when they read the ruling.
Yes, he did indicate that they will advise themselves, and Dr. Ayine says the only way they can decide what line of action to take next is when they have access to the documents. And so the decision of the court should state the reasons for its conclusion, and once they have that, they are able to take a decision on what to do next. And so in terms of seeking for a review of that decision, it's an option they are considering, but they will all start with getting the reasons that the court attached to this decision, and that will inform them on the next line of action, Daniel.
Right. Finally, Joseph, before you go, tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m., this case continues with case management and pre-trial. We understand that some issues will be laid out. What exactly is expected to happen in court tomorrow?
And so, in simple terms, when they make reference to the issue, what is going to be done is that the petitioner has filed a case, a respondent has responded, and so the court compares all the issues. The lawyers make proposals from what they think are the gray areas, the controversial issues, the issues that are of contention. So those issues need to be stated explicitly in order for the trial to commence. And so once those issues are agreed on, the issues that the people agree that if those questions are answered by the court, it resolves the matter. And so that forms the starting point for the trial, in that all evidence must be led to answer the question that the court and the parties will agree is the question that ought to be answered. And so both sides will come with their proposed issues. They are going to read it out to the court after penning a 2012-2013 petition. Then the court will decide on whether those issues are germane or whether they are not. And so once they agree on which ones are critical, then those issues will be set as the main issues to be determined in the course of this trial. Then from there on, the trial takes off, where you will now have to read evidence and rebut presumptions, all in relation to those questions that will be set down for answers to be given.
Joseph Akable, thank you very much, and we'll be with you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. at the Supreme Court so we can get a better understanding of this case management and pre-trial as you explain now. You're live on JoyNews today with me, Daniel Dazo. We'll take a few messages. When we come back, Darryl Kwao has the details of business.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. For the second week running, government's Treasury bill target was oversubscribed by a little over 30%. Importantly, the 91-day bill was highly patronized by investors. Charles Nixon-Yabua has more.
The target for this auctioning was 756 million cedis, but government secured a little over 988 million cedis. This is appreciable looking at recent events where government struggled to raise enough funds from the Treasury bills auctioning to repay loans and also finance the budget. On the other hand, the government reduced the amount of money it accepted this time around. For the 91-day Treasury bill, the government mobilized a little over 864 million cedis. The interest rate was 0.1% lower than the previous week's sale, indicating some cost savings for the government. It is expected that the rate will go down further in the coming weeks. Data from the Bank of Ghana indicates that the government treasury securities were priced lower than the present rate during the early part of last year.
Now, some mining news. A crystal mining consort under the Kibi Gold Fields at Isiakwa in the eastern region is leading the way in preserving the environment through responsible mining. Over 56 acres of the mine concession are being prepared to be handed over to owners of the lands. Half of this reclaimed land is revegetated in preparation for farming and other purposes. Lab FM's Sanaya Ojima visited the Ghanaian-owned large-scale mining firm and has come through with this report.
Under the concurrent mining system, mined areas are reclaimed before the miner starts work on another part of the concession. Segments of the soil dug out are separated from each other and properly kept for reclamation. Chief Geologist Samson Osu explains the soil is replaced by the same layers dug out before black soil is reintroduced to support vegetative cover.
After mining everything from the field, then we send the gauze from the wash plant that the plant reject back to the pit. And then after filling it with the gauze and the tailings have the oversize and the undersize. We put the oversize before being the undersize, so that we cap it with the overbed. And then we do the contouring and then put back the topsoil.
Trees common to the environment are already planted in restoration of vegetation cover. Mahogany and Oframo are few of such tree species. The trees are mixed cropped with cassava, which is fast growing on the reclaimed land. Some of the cassava has the root crop formed, indicating the soil's fertility despite being mined. Loretta Boateng is Environment Officer.
So we wanted to see the variation that the growth rate will hit it will come, so that
after the next period, you can able to know how to grow the next phase of the land as well. And it also helped me not to buy, because if I plant and I get enough food crops and I test at the lab and there's no significant metal that affects the production of the body, then it means I can do intercropping. And intercropping, crops actually grows faster than the natural trees we have.
Though these lands have proven fertile, the company is required by law to hold on to the land for at least 5 years before release to the farmers. Chief Executive Officer of Crystal Mining Consult, Nana Bribi Babuatin, says the use of concurrent means of mining contributed to responsible mining realized on the concession.
We have reclaimed about 99% of mine-out areas. At for us, because we want to complete the job, if it is 1 year contract, we want to complete every job or whatever we have to do within that period. That is why we take up upon ourselves to do concurrent mining so that we will not finish all the mining before we come back to make a reclamation.
For JoyNews, Nana Ojima reporting.
That's business. Sports is up next.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Sports on Midday. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Isaac Kumsin is a former vice chairman of the Ghana League Clubs Association and a candidate for the upcoming elections. He believes that the current leadership style is monotonous and has promised to make the association a viable one. Contested the 2016 edition of the Galga Elective Congress, polling just 13 votes. In the process, incumbent Kujefian got 64 votes. However, Mr. Kumsin insists his vision for the association makes him a leading candidate for the polls. According to him, reviving the Presidential Cup, which he described as monotonous, would be essential in the resuscitation of Galka.
The President Cup, everybody from its inception has been a bona fide property of the government of the day. So from the word go of its planning, you plan with the government. When it will be launched, when it will be played, everything, government is on board in its planning. So if I tell you that I'm going to now make a Presidential Cup a seasonal competition, instead of probably 2 clubs playing in 1 day, it has become monotonous, boring. We have to think outside the box. We have to be innovative and give job for people to do. You understand? So this competition this time is going to play it in the season. It is not going to be one playoff. Then we'll play to, they get 4 teams that are on the table, they are 1 to 4. Then we group them to play among themselves until we get the champion where the president will honor that team. And this is purely presidential project, and I will expect that from the word go when you get to the office, we start the planning with the government and with the FA.
Mr. Kumsim also added that he admires the steps taken by the leader of the Ghana Football Association, Kurt Okreku, and he would emulate that by visiting corporate bodies to be a partner of GALCA.
My administration is going to go into a lot of partnership and sponsorship agreement. I have learned a lot from administration of Mr. Kurt U.S. Okreku. He was elected at the time where there is COVID, okay? And if you bear me waiting, from the word go, he hit the ground running, whether COVID or no COVID. He opened and knocked off any door that can be a partner to GFA or can be a sponsor to GFA. I admire that move, and I'm going to emulate that move.
The GALCA Elective Congress will be held on Thursday, January 21. Let's do some more here on JoyNews today. And a former Ghana international, Augustine Ahimfo, he wants the Ghana Football Association to concentrate on talents from academies for the best talents to aid the progression of youth football in Ghana. According to him, these academies are established and have taught players the basics of football.
Established academies. And I sometimes really don't understand. Because when you talk about under 17, these players are still learning. They are not professionals. It is only here that we feel that under 17 should be playing for Asante Kotokos and the other. But for me, as a former footballer, when the team goes and the performance is good, then like the General Secretary said, we have to build on it. It really doesn't matter if we don't win the cup, but you have to look at how the team is progressing, because the foundation of the Black Stars starts from the starters. So if their performance is very good, then obviously the progression through under 20 and the Black Stars will look brighter. But if it does not really go that way, then we have a problem. Why am I talking about the academies? Because they have these boys that they've trained through the ages of 12, 13, 14, thereabouts. They know the basics. We can add on. But the core of the team should really start from the academy, the established ones. Let's say Right to Dim, for instance. Let's say Wafa, for instance. Probably 1 or 2 here and there. Gordon Trump has a very good 17 or whatever team. Or that Tilante has. So let's look at these established ones.
That is Augustine Ahunful wrapping up sports on Joy News today with me, Muftar Nabila Abdullah. Showbiz is up next.
Good afternoon. Let's talk some showbiz here on Joy News today. Now, musician Akwaba says serving God is a personal affair. According to him, some of the comments that have come in following the release of Celestine Donko's new single, Thank You, which features himself and Ifia, is unfortunate. He spoke on This Is Gospel show.
When the news broke out, and then I started hearing people, you know, and I think a brother coming through to the studio to talk about us, as me and Ifia, being on the same song with Celestine. And then him or some people saying things that wasn't really cool in my spirit. I'm like, you don't know me. And what they don't know is, like Frankie, last time I told you, I've been in the church. My church.
You shared your story right here.
Yeah, for almost 21, 22 years.
You've been in the church.
In the church. I've been the same keyboardist for Parliament Chapel International. Apostle Francis Amakwata is my pastor, my head pastor, or my godfather. So if people sit back, or some people sit back and say, we are Sephora, because Frankie, worshiping God or knowing God is a personal affair.
On that note, we end showbiz here on Joy News today. My name is Becky. Over to you, Daniel.
And on that note, we end the bulletin, Joy News today. My name is Daniel Dazi. Up next is The Marketplace. See you tomorrow.